is the Scars and Spikes podcast. Sydney, Tyler with you. Tommy is on his way. He'll be joining us shortly here
Coming in
on
hot.
a day where we are still celebrating, Tyler, Atlanta United making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Playoffs.
For the
In
first
words
time
of
since
Jim
2021.
Moore. For the first time since 2021, Atlanta United are in the playoffs. Feels good. Feels good to say. Feels good to talk about. And yeah, don't doubt Atlanta.
That's right. It's fun, man. I don't know, man. It was such a fun win, right? Like it really felt just awesome to watch that kind of high flying attacking football and
Cathartic, I think is the word.
yeah. It felt like a little bit of a throwback. Sonny, appreciate the shout out, man. Always. But yeah,
Yes.
man, still riding that high, and now they get some rest, right? Like we get to enjoy other football between now and the next Atlanta United game.
Yeah. So Atlanta United don't play until October 4th, which is when they travel to take out the Philadelphia Union. By the way, shout out to everyone that's watching live here on a Wednesday night. Shout out to those listening later on at a later time. Really appreciate it. We say all the time, if you listen, if you have a chance Wednesday night, tune us in, 7 p.m. Next week, we'll be on probably Tuesday night at 7 p.m. due to the match on Wednesday. But yeah, always enjoy coming on live with you guys. Always enjoy chatting with you on the podcast. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about. No match to talk about upcoming for Atlanta United. We'll leave that until Tuesday. But again, Atlanta United in the playoffs, so we'll talk about that. Kind of give a quick look back, final wrap up on the win over Montreal. We'll talk about really how far this team can go. We'll talk about Giakoumakis, can he win the Golden Boot? Almada, can he win MVP? Really take a look at these new signings, unsung heroes, and we'll look forward to all of the good stuff coming up in the postseason. But a little bit of a disclaimer: there's soccer going on Wednesday night. By the time you listen to this on Thursday morning, the U.S. Open Cup will have been played. Campeones Cup will have been played. So Messi, as of the recording of this podcast, as Tommy joins us, will play like 30 minutes or something like that. So we'll see. We'll see.
My bad.
Did you forget?
Tommy is late. We forgive you, Tommy.
No, dumb things that you think about when you're a kid. And now that I'm 3 minutes late, random thing. So the Chicago Cubs, as a kid, they always used to play games in the afternoon, right? That was one thing.
Okay.
So I thought nobody in Chicago had jobs. I didn't think people worked in Chicago when I was a kid. And the game started at 7 or 3:03 or 12:03. So I always thought they were like 3 minutes behind us when I was a kid.
Because they didn't have lights.
I'm here on Chicago time, so I'm good.
You guys remember
or like MLS kickoff time.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
You guys remember back in the day, Turner Time. I mean, we are a land-based podcast, so we got to shout out TBS.
Yeah.
But they had what's called Turner Time. And all their shows started out like 05:35 because Ted Turner wanted people to tune in at that time to take away views from other channels because everyone else was starting their shows at 0 and 30. Ted Turner wanted to be different. So
You know what was
that's
so
why he did
irritating
that.
about that?
What?
You would look at the TV guide channel or go through like DirecTV on the guide, and you would have everything all neatly lined up, and then there'd be freaking TV with a little block off to the side. And it's like, you jerks, y'all ruined everything, and you're making my OCD go crazy.
Anyway, that's old school TBS. Now it starts like at normal times. But yes, Tommy, welcome. Glad you
Playoffs.
can make it. Playoffs.
Playoffs.
In the words of Jim Mora, not the former Falcons coach, but his father, also a former NFL coach. But yes, playoffs.
The
How you
X
guys
next
feeling?
to our name, our X
Yes.
next to it. My buddy, I got my friends into Atlanta United, and they joined like when the team got bad.
Oh,
And like they were like, "Oh, you had so much fun early on in your fanhood," and then we joined, and it's been miserable. So they sent me the screenshot of MLS app and said, "What does the X mean? I don't understand. What does that mean?" And I just biggest letters possible, playoffs.
It means we're fun again.
I know. Or in the words of Mike Conte, we're so back.
We're so back.
Which is, I mean, I get it, but somewhat debatable. But we'll ride with it.
I mean, we're backer than we've been back before.
Right.
We're fun.
Anyway.
Back in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like the games have been fun, right? Miami, a ton of fun. Was it the Dallas? Who we have right after that? No, who was it?
Oh,
we play in the
DC,
middle.
up in DC.
DC, not so much fun.
So fun, yeah.
20 minutes fun, and then the rest you could, go take a nap. And then we were back to full-blown fun. They just didn't think we could handle like that much, so they just gave us 20 minutes after the great game, and they were like, just take a break, calm down, but we're going to get crazy when we get home again.
They just wanted to clinch the playoffs at home. That's all it was.
Got to pace ourselves. Exactly. That's the plan all along, Tyler, just to clinch it at home.
Always.
Scarsandspikes.com, by the way, our website, if you guys want to check us out there, has a link to our store if you want to buy some stickers and stuff like that. Patreon.com/scarsandspikes if you want to support us. 7-day free trial to unlock all the great stuff we have on there, as well as our Discord channel. Only patrons have access to that. So, yeah, patreon.com/scarsandspikes. $1.17 tier, $5 tier, $10 tier. Again, 7 days free. So whenever we drop new content, you'll get it for free for the first 7 days, and then that fee will kick in. So try it out for a week, see how you like it, and then move on from there. We're probably doing a mailbag. Yes, what you got?
Sorry, just real quick. Today's the perfect day to sign up for Patreon, because 1 week from today, if you're signing 7 days. 7 days. Gosh, that sounds like a good infomercial here. But today, if you sign up today, in 7 days, we are doing a watch along for the Philadelphia game, and that'll be included in it. So you can come hang out with us on Patreon and watch the game.
Oh, we should clarify, that'll be a patrons only watch along.
Yes.
Patrons only watch along. So, yeah, another reason to join. We'll also be doing a mailbag, hopefully, with some of our patrons' questions. So looking forward to that, just to tie people over until the next match. So, yeah, lots of ways to get connected to Scars and Spikes. Also got a shout out, and we don't do this enough, our friends at Five Stripe Final, Joe Patrick, Sam Jones, our sister podcast.
Yeah.
Go check them out, too.
Or brother podcast.
Yeah, or brother podcast.
Our sibling podcast, whatever
sibling
you like.
Podcast, yes.
You see them call them the creepy uncle podcast?
I think it was siblings because, Joe's about our age. No, Joe's younger than us. Sam's definitely younger than us, so yeah. Sibling podcast. Relational podcast. No, that sounds wrong. Sounds like romantic podcast.
Not that one, no.
Sorry, I'll stop.
I like where you're going.
Yeah.
But we took the wrong turn somewhere back in Albuquerque.
Yeah. No, but they're great. So check them out, please, and let them know we sent you. How are you guys feeling about playoffs, by the way? Let's start with that.
Well,
we're going to get into how far you think we'll go, but as we stand right now, how do you guys feel?
I think this team, big asterisk next to this team has the ability to beat any team in this league. It might be one of the most chaotic, heart attack inducing games you'll see, because it's going to be a shootout. It's not going to be one of those 1-0 type of games, because this team can't seem to keep a clean sheet, right? But you're going to get goals, I think, usually. And look, a win's a win. So I think they can go, and they can, especially if they get matched up really favorably, and they can get that home field advantage. At the end of the day, that's the biggest thing. You get that top 4 spot, make that home field advantage. This team could go all the way. But we'll see. It's not going to be easy. They've got to take this little bit of rest and somehow figure out a way to just solidify that defense just a little bit to keep some clean sheets here and there.
Tata kind of changed things right before the playoffs, and it worked, right? Like we became something different. Can Atlanta United add anything into their arsenal of how they play to confuse teams and still score goals? If you could do that, sure. Like the East has so much talent, right? I mean, like you go look over in the West, it's one team. Like if you get to MLS Cup, there's really one team that could really host it, and that's St. Louis, and all the other teams, most of the top teams in the East would be hosting MLS Cup. You got to win on the road. You're going to have to win on the road at some point. That is something that is so important. We keep saying that we're hoping it happens, and it really hasn't happened much. That's why this Philadelphia game coming up in a week, I think, is really important. Decision day could be weird no matter what ends up happening, depending on how the standings are. So this is your legit last, possibly throw it all out there, win a big game against Philly. But yeah, they could go. I think that this team is fun enough. I feel better about this team than our last playoff team, right? That snuck into the playoffs a few years ago. Like
Not
you knew
far.
they were just coming together at that point. Aruju was just coming in. You didn't know what that was. You got a bad draw that you were going to New York. I think this team can win a best of 3, and then you find out that the playoff format's 3 weekends, basically. I think, like 3 weeks, you have time for rest. The only thing that worries me about the playoffs at all, looking at the schedule, is that after the best of 3, if you get past it, there's an international break, and there's going to be a lot of our players probably going on international break that aren't getting rest, while some other teams might be getting more rest. It's the only thing that could worry me about the playoffs.
So, if the players were to begin right now, this weekend, I should say, Atlanta would play Philadelphia. So Philadelphia would host the first match. Atlanta would host the second match, and if necessary, Philadelphia would host the third match. So the good thing about the first round is if you draw, if you get a result, at the very least, it goes straight to penalties. There's no extra time. So that takes a little bit of the sting out of drawing on the road. And on top of that, I mean, it's essentially even Steven from there. You don't really need a lot of tactics for penalties. I mean, you need to select the right players, all right. There needs to be some nerve involved.
Just put it on frame, please.
Yeah, just put it on frame. No, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like, just keep your nerve and choose your best players and hit the ball, hope it goes in, essentially. So I'm simplifying it, oversimplifying it, but yeah, if you draw, I mean, you give yourself at least have a chance to win. You don't want to draw. I mean, you don't want to draw, obviously, because it takes a little bit of the momentum out, but it'd be better if they just outright won after 90 minutes on the road, because after the first round, it's just knockout football from there. There's no second chances. You lose, you're out. And Tommy, you said it. The way the standings are set up right now, there's a very good chance that an Eastern Conference team, like you were saying, hosts MLS Cup. The highest point team, or the team with the most points in the West, is St. Louis with 53. LAFC have 45. You look at the East, every
all the way
team
down
from 1 through 6, 1 through 6, all of those teams have more than LAFC right now. So if St. Louis is upset in the first round, not the first round, but like the quarterfinals, I think, if they're upset, then it stands a good chance that East team will host MLS Cup. So you have that going for you too. So, long story short, I mean, you have to win on the road. But Atlanta United can really help itself with a win against Philadelphia on next Wednesday. That way you come back home against Columbus, and then you get a result. You beat Columbus. I mean, you're still in really good shape. And then you get a result in Cincinnati, who may have won the Shield by the time you get there, and who knows? I mean, you could be playing with house money at that point. Not to put things too ahead of us right now, but I mean, You have to beat Philly next Wednesday. No, it's ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you don't, pretty much kiss a top 4 spot goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you're looking at the standings right now. There's a lot of football to be watched tonight, right? We have our watch along we're about to go do for the Open Cup just to have some fun. Watch, who knows, Messi maybe play for a half an hour. We'll see. But it's a neutral match for us, right? We get to make fun of everybody. And then you get the Campeones Cup. But for Atlanta, you know, we always look at that number of other teams that have games in hand. This is where it's all, Tommy, you mentioned it a lot, but this is where everything's coming up. All of it's kind of evening back out. Philly's playing tonight. You want them to lose tonight against Dallas. And then they are playing again Wednesday against Columbus. You want to draw. Saturday. Sorry, I keep thinking today's Saturday. But yeah, on the weekend, you want them to draw that match because those are the two that are directly ahead of you. If that happens and you beat Philly next Wednesday, then you are, depending on what Orlando does, you're second or third. Ooh. So, I mean, again, this is that scoreboard watching time of the year. This is we told y'all this is what we were going to be doing. We're going to be trying to break it down for you guys. But if you're an Atlanta fan, you want Philly to suck tonight, and then you want Philly and Columbus to both suck equally on Saturday. And then, of course,
0-0 draw.
Yeah, let Atlanta do their thing. 0-0 draw. Yeah, keep that goal differential down.
Philly's going to be tired.
Yeah,
like they're absolutely going to be tired, and we're going to be rested. And this team has done a pretty good job of taking advantage of that, right? Like they were able to, what was the Nashville when they came back? Nashville played a ton of games because they were still going with League's Cup. Then they had to play their regular season. We were rested. We took advantage of that. Almost took advantage of Cincinnati at home. Didn't work out, but hey, it's not, you can't be perfect. But
so yeah, I'm like, gone are the days of like, I hope everybody has fun. I want people to get mollywopped, and I need people coming in tired legs, you know. But yeah, I mean, this is crunch time, and I had another point, and I might interrupt one of y'all in a minute when I remember it again. I can't think of what it was, but it was a good thing. Oh, I know what it was. Real quick, sorry, Sydney. I told you I was going to cut you off.
Go for it.
After Philly, the last time, Brooks Lennon was in the locker room and told us that was the match where they had so much time to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one where, I mean, they dominated Philly in that match. It was 2-0. It was at home. I get it was at home, but like that was a good match, and that was when Atlanta was really struggling, right? And he said that they put so much time, so much effort into really, really preparing for that game and watching tons of film. He said, and I put it in my article that I'd always do after these matches, we watched more film than we've ever done before in prepping for that game. Well, you've got essentially 3.5 extra days to get ready for this one. So I know it's away. It's never easy, but you can do it. You can do it. So we'll see.
So I asked, I was asking you guys, how far do you think Atlanta United will get? So I'll kind of break down what the playoff picture looks like. And I already talked about it. If they started like right this second, like right as we're talking right now, they'll take out Philadelphia in the best of 3. Again, Philly host, Atlanta host, Philly host if necessary. If they win that, they'll take out either Cincinnati or Montreal, or the winner of that Montreal New England one-off match in the wild card, the playing game, if you will. Probably had your bets against, gosh, I don't know, Montreal, because they don't live at home a whole lot. But then whoever wins that one plays Cincinnati. Maybe we'll probably pencil Cincinnati in, I feel like, for the next round after that. So you have, theoretically, an Atlanta-Cincinnati semifinal at TQL, which Tommy, you might be at if it gets to that point.
Oof. I got so many options if they make it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I could be driving 2 hours to Columbus, or I could be going to Cincinnati again.
Yeah.
Just got my tickets. And just real quick, Sydney, Brian asked, the last game we have Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is going to rest their team since they're ahead in points.
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, you disagree. You don't think that will happen.
No, there's an international break right before decision day. So if Cincinnati rests all their players for that game, they're essentially going to have almost a 3 weeks off or 2.5 weeks off, whatever it is, without playing a game leading into their first best of three. If I'm thinking, if I'm the coach, you can't just rest your guys and just hope they can go from 0 to 60 for the first round of the playoffs. If anything, you might see them play a half or maybe, 50,
Rotate.
60 minutes. Yeah, and then rotate out fairly quickly. But I don't think they're going to just sit by and write off decision day.
I think the con with that is, and to push back on your argument a little bit, you run the risk of your stars getting hurt. I mean, if Acosta gets hurt on decision day, that's a disaster for Cincinnati, right? Or Bepensta, or some of their other players, their top guys. So you run that risk of something happening to them. But I mean, you always run that risk, right? I mean, it could happen to Acosta in their next match. So I think Pat Noonan is going to try to strike the balance. Like you said, Tommy, they may rotate to, let your stars play a half and then let the younger guys play, just so they're fresh and ready to go for this playoff run. So that's the balance that he'll have to strike. But that's kind of the con behind it, They'll have clinched everything by then. You don't want your player getting hurt in a meaningless game. So I could see Noonan maybe resting some players for that particular reason alone. But at the same time, you don't want the guys rusted just sitting around waiting for a match to happen.
You also have to take into account what the players want, right? Because like Acosta, he's going to tell Pat Noonan, no, I'm playing this match, because that's just how he is. And also, one other thing to consider, if it's still a draw for the Golden Boot race come Cincinnati day, come decision day, there's no way Giakoumakis or Lucho Acosta are going to be okay with not playing, because it's going to be one of them, I'm sure. So there's a lot of factors in it, but I mean, I do agree. Like it's kind of a flip of the coin, but I think, I don't think you want to give them that much time off. You go back to what happened with New England recently in the playoffs and, just doing so well and then crapping out because they had so much time off. But you don't want to get them injured. And now, granted, they don't have a ton of players that are going on international duty either before that. So a half, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially considering you're already going to have everything clinched.
Omar's talking about the Golden Boot and penalties. My joke was going to be, unless Mukhtar gets like 7 PKs before decision day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want to spend too much time on like playoffs. I mean, I know we got other places to go, but
But we can dream.
Yeah.
We can dream. We can dream.
No, but no, I just want to kind of throw this out there because and run down the teams that are in the playoffs right now. That 7th spot is still 7, 8, 9 is still wide open. But 1 through 6 are clinched, or 6 teams have clinched. They have not clinched their particular spots. Maybe Cincinnati, they've all been clinched. But Cincinnati, Cincinnati's going to be a tough out. Orlando has gotten hot, so they're in a good way right now. Columbus playing really well under Wilfred Nancy. He's done a terrific job in his first year up there. Philadelphia, you've proven you can beat Philadelphia. Now you got to do it on the road. New England is just a lot going on, so
that's a wild card if there ever was one.
that could be an upset, 3-6, and then Nashville, they're kind of treading water. I mean, they won the other day, but they haven't really put all the pieces together. I think Leagues Cup just took a lot out of them. So, I mean, it's wide open. I mean, except maybe Philly, but I mean, it's anyone's to lose at this point. I feel like if it gets to that, you just got to hope since he gets knocked out and gives yourself half a chance to get through.
Imagine
now the
playing
West,
Columbus.
Now the West,
Sorry.
I'm not even going to bother because it's just so wide open.
Well,
Yeah.
say Columbus. Think if you got Columbus, right? Like think if you played Columbus, Nagby, Gressel.
That'd be a
Yeah.
crazy environment for at least one of the home games.
Oh yeah, for
Or even
sure.
just as they got later, as you move on in the playoffs, it's like you're playing the ghost of Atlanta past.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, Tata Martino in the technical area for that one.
Look what happened last time Tata Martino was in the technical area against Atlanta. It worked
They
out quite well.
lost
Right.
by a lot.
Big time.
They did.
Big time.
See, I'm not trying to talk too much crap right now because there's still a lot of
Yeah.
soccer to be played. But
Oh, definitely. So let's get into like the awards. I mean, we were talking a little bit about that earlier. So Giakoumakis is tied for the Golden Boot lead. Almada is still maybe in the MVP hunt. I feel like Costa is going to win it. I feel like he's the front runner right now, but I kind of want to focus on MVP because it's more all around. And I was just thinking, what's the argument? Is MVP, when you look for the MVP, is not necessarily the best player on the best team, which would be Luciano Acosta, no doubt about it. So it's not necessarily that. It's the most valuable player. Who is more valuable to his team's success? And I feel like it could still be Acosta. Still could be Lucho. Because I feel like without him, Cincinnati are maybe not winning the Shield. I mean, they're still in the playoffs. But maybe not winning the Shield. But you got to look at Almada and just how much he's meant to this team. Yeah, I feel like sometimes and we've mentioned this before, he can put too much on himself and kind of be a non-factor at times. He can get marked out. He can make a decision that's not the best, and he doesn't show it in a negative way, but I feel like a lot of times he's not taking the match by the scruff of the neck, And it's tough to be critical of Thiago because he's so good, but he's still young, and I'd hope, next year he'll be much improved in that area if he comes back next year. But I feel like Acosta is the one to beat right now, depending on what this next stretch of matches looks like. Thiago could still make a push, but I feel like Lucho is it right now. I mean, what do you guys think? Are you on board with that? You disagree? Think Almada can sneak up, or?
Depends.
Tommy, you go ahead because I'm checking something. I'm curious.
Uh-oh.
We'll see if it's the same thing I was looking up
Checking
too.
something.
I think that there's a chance. He's the dark horse in this, and I think that he could. I think he's second currently in there, but he's got to have a good last 3 games, and you're set up. He's set up to have that, right? Like you're facing 2 teams right below you to get home field. I mean, I know Cincinnati's ahead of you, but you're not catching up to them. But if you can have some monster games here, and if Atlanta can continue doing what they've been doing, basically since the transfer window ended, and that score a lot of goals, be flashy. If they could play like they just did in the last 2 home games, I think he has an absolute opportunity to do that. If they slow down, and they play their usual Atlanta United road games, I don't think he's really got an opportunity. But if they can continue playing like they have in the last 2 games in 20 minutes, he can definitely sneak up in there. And then you're setting yourself up. Decision day. Like you said, Tyler, Costa's going to play. Almada's probably going to play. Like now this is it. This is
no
the
problem.
game, right?
Almada is going to play. Guaranteed.
Yeah, like it's these 2 guys, right, playing against each other. And if Almada could show off in that game, that's what the voters are going to remember, is that last game and Almada getting it. Because any MVP award, usually most MVP awards are pretty dumb. Like in a lot of leagues, like sometimes it's usually the flashiest player that gets it. Like in the NFL, it's usually always the quarterback, right? That gets that position. I think voters are going to remember that last game, and whoever can really show it in that final game, they'll get it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you also look at probably the media coverage that the two have received, and I know we haven't even really mentioned Mukhtar a lot, whatever. But you know, Almada has the benefit of having won the World Cup, right? That's going to carry you a long way. But again, it's MVP of the league. It's not MVP of, you know, the world. So, but you know, you brought up an interesting point, Tommy, as well. Like the NFL, your MVPs most of the time are going to be quarterbacks, you know, maybe a running back, maybe a receiver, whatever. It's always an attacking player, right? MVP. The majority of MVPs in MLS have been attacking midfielders or strikers. That's what you have. That's typically what you've got. And in this case, the top three, attacking midfielder, and center forward, aka striker. The last time that a non-attacking player, and this is including midfield, won the MVP in MLS, you want to know when it was?
Was it a keeper?
Hold on, Tyler. Breaking news.
Oh, right,
Breaking news. Andrew Wiebe retweeted this. Nico Cantor wrote, Messi's not even on the team sheet for Inter Miami tonight. Messi will not play.
Oh.
Breaking news. Just want to get it out there.
Oh, boy. This game becomes so much more interesting now. This is like going to be a game. There's no cheat codes involved. Anyway,
I might be putting some money on the other team.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You're betting on Houston. I just don't know that's a good idea, but whatever. Don't listen to me. I'm not better.
Yeah. We don't, our betting advice is not gospel. So unless it's from Tommy.
Yeah,
Tommy
can do some stuff.
Yeah, you've been doing pretty good. But
the first goal score every time I get it.
All right, guess. Last time.
Gotta be a keeper, right? Is it a keeper?
It was a keeper. I'll give you that. Yeah. How long ago do you think?
Which team?
Well, that'll give too much away.
Stephen Fry?
No, that's a good shout though. Tommy, what year? 96 onward. So just pick a year. Onward. What you got? Omar said not Gruffalo.
That'd be pretty cool if it was.
It would.
Yeah. Who was RSL's keeper when they won the MLS Cup? Or no, the MLS Cup.
I don't know, but it wasn't
that 1 year.
So it was the year it was Y2K.
Oh gosh.
And it was the Kansas City Wizards. It was Tony Meola.
Tony Meola.
Yeah, and he was other finalists was Clint Mathis. That tells you anything.
Meola must have had a heck of a season.
I know. I want to go and look and see what he did that season, because for a goalkeeper to win that is wild.
He has 16 clean sheets. I'm just pulling up this article on Wikipedia. 16 clean sheets. He started the first half in goal in the 2000 MLS All-Star game, and he played part of the second half as forward.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. But I say all that to say, just it was kind of to a point. But you've got Hani Mukhtar, right? Who every one of these teams really, like the MVP in their particular team, is in the MVP race, because the team would not be as good without them. Nashville doesn't score goals really without Hani Mukhtar, but their defense is what keeps them alive, right? Like they have really a good defense to fall back on. Cincinnati is or has been a much more well-rounded team. Atlanta has struggled, but Thiago Almada has been the big player that has stepped up in moments that nobody else has. Hani Mukhtar is a striker. You get him the ball, he's supposed to score goals, but your defense is doing the thing, right? Luciano Krasic, he's a great attacking midfielder, but they have other options. There were times when Atlanta was in the dumps and Almada would come through with something. And to me, that's the definition of an MVP. And then now that you've got these other players, other talents around him, they're doing so much more. He's doing so much more. He has freedom to operate. I don't know. I think it's still a tough race. I think he's a close second if he's second.
I think the sex appeal of Atlanta could play a factor. I mean, Cincinnati is I mean, it's a mid-market team, right? But it's really Rex to Riches kind of story. I mean, they were awful the first few years in MLS. They're just terrible. And now, they're a step away from winning the Supporter Shield. That's incredible. And Acosta, like I said, has been a major part of that. That being said, when you look at, again, like the sex appeal, the big market, the big money spenders, Atlanta's certainly in that box for sure. And they get a lot of the headlines, a lot of the conversations. Okay, Atlanta United. I mean, FC Cincinnati doesn't have that sex appeal, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. So I feel like
that's a pretty good phrase, man. You said it like 6 times already.
No.
You're on a roll.
No, but I think that might influence the voters to an extent.
Yeah.
That you may see Thiago get more votes than he normally would. That if he were playing for maybe a RSL or a Sporting Kansas City, which is a club that's been around for a while, granted, or I don't know, Colorado Rapids or something like that. Yeah, I said RSL already, but I mean, that might swing the voters to an extent, but yeah, for me, I think it's Lucho for sure at this point.
And also, to your point, I mean, you have again the World Cup, which we mentioned already, but everybody loves a comeback story, right? And knock on wood, if that's what happens with Atlanta this season, the end of this season, I mean, all the media coverage is going to be on Atlanta. Like Cincinnati, cool, you won the Supporter Shield, but to have the team, and I mean, how many times did I say it up until the summer transfer window? I kept calling it the one wild card that could change everything. And for Atlanta, it has. It really has. Second best, I mean, whatever. I still think it's the best, but you can't argue with Messi. Second best transfer window in the summer for sure.
When he plays.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to play, right? But yeah, I just think like you've got a lot going for you if you're Almada and that MVP race for sure.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Tommy?
You look pensive.
Oh no, I just looking through this whole Miami thing and the drama that's all going on the X. People are falling apart.
I'll never get used to calling Twitter X. It just feels weird. That's kind of put a bow on this. Dan saying in the chat, the argument for Lucho over Almada is that Cincinnati has only scored 50 goals while Lent has 61, so Lucho is involved in 50% of their goals.
Tommy bomb.
I got cut off. Yeah. And then he had another point talking about Lucho only has 25 goals and assists combined, 25 goal contributions to Almada's 26 goal contributions, MVP solved. Yeah, I mean, I get it, but when you look at just the overall body of work and where Cincinnati is, I think Lucho gets it. So now about another major award is the Golden Boot, and we joke about penalties, and it is what it is, right? Penalties are included. It's like that in other leagues. But can Giakoumakis get it? And it sounds like part of the concerted effort for Atlanta United is to help Giaco get it. And that's what Greg Gazelle was saying in the locker room. Not only in the locker room, but on MLS 360. He was like, look, we're going to try to get him the Golden Boot this season. And I still can't get over that chip he had a Sirois on Saturday.
You know what's crazy? You look at the shot chart from that match, and you don't realize how far out that chip was. It was outside the box when he took that shot. It just seems like it's so close because it's a chip, right? That was a goal. That was a good freaking goal. So anyway, carry on.
Yeah, the level of no, you're good. No, like the level of difficulty, I mean, it looks easy, doesn't it? From where we sit, but just the timing, the audacity, and all of that has to all fall to place for that to, come together. So, just a terrific goal there. But one thing that Gazan was talking about is Gazan or Giakoumakis can just score in many different ways. He can score those chips. He start right at the box. He can score. I mean, we haven't seen him score bangers, anything like that. He's a bit of a pilcher when he needs to be. Kind of that fox in the box kind of player. He can pop up and knock a goal in off a rebound. So he's just so creative in the ways that he can score and how he can affect the match. Just his physicality, I think we've talked about this numerous times. That's what sets him apart from Joseph, just like his sheer physicality, his build, his strength. And I think the big question is, I think he's much better off than he was when he came here, but his health, his fitness, can he stay fit? And I think
knock on everything.
Yeah. No, I think if he does, Atlanta's definitely gonna be a tough out in playoffs. And like I said, I think his fitness has become better because he's had some breaks. He's had some times to kind of chill out and get healthy and get his leg right. So, yeah, I think he's going to be probably I'm simplifying, your second best player in the playoffs. I mean, Almada first, but Giakoumakis second. I think he does get Golden Boot. I really do. It's going to come down probably to the wire. It's going to come down to the decision day. We talked about it. That's another reason to play Costa, is for that Golden Boot. But the question there will be, will Noonan value individual achievements over the team, staying healthy going into the postseason? So I think that's the big question. But I think Giakoumakis, I feel like he sneaks in there because the team knows that as they have a lot to play for yet, what to get him even more involved. And I think that's what will make them super dangerous going down the stretch.
Yeah. Maybe him not winning the award will send him into super crazy playoff mode. Individual awards, I know the players like the individual awards, but they want to win championships. So just like how we didn't, win the Supporter Shield, right? And what happened? Every Atlanta United player on that team said if we would have won on decision day, we probably wouldn't have won MLS Cup, right? Like that was the quote that we've heard from multiple people, is that loss that took away Supporter Shield from Atlanta United set them into a whole new world, and they changed how they played, and it changed their mentality, and they went on to win a championship. If he doesn't get it, maybe that turns him into a little bit more motivated to push harder in the playoffs, because that guy, he just like Joseph, one of the big comparisons is they both wear their heart on their sleeve, for good and for bad. And the bad for Giakoumakis is when he struggles. Let's go back to that Cincinnati game. He was a red card waiting to happen, elbows, pushes, just losing the game. Like he just shouldn't have been out there, because he wasn't there to play. He was just there to just beat some Cincinnati, and I don't know. I individual awards are cool, but I think they really want to win this, and I think that teams now this year, and maybe I'm wrong, but you look at what Miami and potentially what Miami can continue to build in this roster build over the winter. I think a lot of these teams are saying we got to win this now. We got to win it this year, because they're only going to get stronger. If these rules change, they're going to get better. These guys that are beat, these older guys, they're going to get some rest. They haven't got some rest in a long time. They worked really hard to win Leagues Cup. They're going to come back rested, and they're going to come back hard.
What does playoff Giakoumakis look like, though? I wonder. What does playoff Almada look like?
Almada, that's a good question. But Giakoumakis, here's the thing about Giakoumakis. And Sydney, you've been down there with me in the locker room and everything, but if you guys don't know this already, Giakoumakis, he is not a happy guy when he doesn't score goals. It's that simple. And I think that's why he's so good, because he will find a way. I always go back to that very first game when he was offside like 16 times, whatever it was. But it was just like he needed to have that goal, and he's going to fight for it, and he's going to make it happen. He's going to will that ball into the back of the net somehow or another. I think it's always easy for a guy in his situation who you've been playing essentially 18, longer than that now, almost 2 years straight, to get a little fatigued and just be like, all right, man, we'll make it through the end of the season. Whatever happens, happens. And then I can get rest and get a full, strong season next year. But he hasn't done that. He has come out every single match, even the ones that he didn't score in, and really, really tried to make a difference. And, sometimes it's a little violent, more so than maybe it should be. But he's going to show that passion all the time. It was actually cool. I was watching a documentary that just came out about Shakhtar Donetsk, the club from Ukraine, and everything going on with Ukraine and Russia and all that. And their
Wax
Champions
tap.
League run. Huh?
Wax tap.
Well, they were showing footage from this most recent Champions League, and they played Celtic, right? So they're showing footage from when Celtic was playing, and Giakoumakis was the one that scored the goal in Champions League against them, and it ended up being a draw after 90 minutes. But it was kind of cool to see him and see, another league and another announcer calling everything, but seeing that same kind of passion that you get out of Atlanta. He hasn't lost it. He's going for his third Golden Boot in 3 different leagues, and that's a lot of motivation. So between that, like just seeing how he plays, seeing him in the locker room, got to give a shout out to my youngest son. He loves him, so he's going to win the Golden Boot just because of that. I'm calling it now. But yeah, I think it's going to happen. Also, the birthday boy the other day called 4-1. So Tommy, he's tied with you.
There you go.
And me. Oh no, you're at 2. Sorry, he's tied with me, I guess. He got it right.
Like father, like son.
Yeah.
Both losing to Tommy.
All right, we'll be there. Look, it's going to be like Atlanta. We're going to come in late. Wait till we get to predictions next week.
I would love to see how many players in world football have won golden boots in 3 separate leagues over the past 25 years. I'm sure it's been done, but that's hard to do because you have to adjust to. And by the way, Adolfo asking about Ash Postecoglou. Yes, he was the coach at Celtic when Gigi was there, when Giakoumakis was there. So for those of you Spurs fans who are watching, listening, yes, the name is certainly familiar. But yeah, I have to look back to see how many players won a Golden Boot in 3 separate leagues. I'm sure it's been done, but I just wonder whether it's been done in the past, how many times it's been done in the past 25 years, and what names are on that list. There'll probably be some obscure name that we don't know.
Yeah, because you've got a lot that have won multiples, but in the same league.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 leagues.
And it's tough because you have to adjust to Giakoumakis. He was coming from Greece to the Netherlands, which is a totally different country, a totally different play style. And he was in a relegation battle. He won one there. Went to Celtic, who are like one of 2 clubs in the Scottish Premiership. He won it there. Yeah. And now he's in Atlanta and is on the verge of doing it here. So it's just so tough because it's 3 different leagues. MLS has more parity than those other 2 leagues. Certainly the Scottish League for sure. So there's a lot more parity. There's a lot more chances of a team that you don't really expect winning MLS Cup. And there's a lot of different playing style, new country, new customs to get used to. So credit to him for settling in and making an impact right away. In 2024, all bets are off for this guy, right? He could score 20, 25 goals easily. And he came on and he said, look, I welcome the pressure. I want the pressure. I know I'm taking on Joseph Martinez's number, which is an all-time number for Atlanta United. I did the same thing at Celtic. So he welcomed the pressure, and he knew that the spotlight is going to be on him, and if he misstepped or got it wrong, people are going to be asking, "Oh, what about Joseph Martinez?" Or this guy is like no Joseph, and he is no Joseph, but that's in a good way because he has so many qualities that Joseph doesn't have, and it certainly works to his advantage. And he really is on the verge of Golden Boot, and I hope he gets it. I think he will, because
Yep.
Atlanta United are going to be very desperate to get into that top 4. So that really helps him.
And really quick too, just to kind of lay it out for everybody as well. Right now, the Golden Boot. So unfortunately, yeah, the penalties, that's part of it. They're still goals. It is what it is. I wish that were a different tiebreaker, but it's not. The tiebreaker is assists, which means right now you're essentially looking at Acosta, Mukhtar, and then Giakoumakis. But it only takes one to be above. That's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Just go score more goals than everybody else, and you're in. So that's how that's decided. I don't see it going any further than that. But Sam asking also, who decides the MVP? Can you all explain that process really quickly? It's actually just, it's a poll that's taken by players, technical staff, and media. So it's a little bit of a popularity contest, if we're being honest. We'll see.
I have an award I want to talk about.
What?
Isn't there like a general manager of the year award, or is it front office?
Yes.
Or something?
Executive of the year, I
That
believe.
would be
yes.
it. Now you know who's going to get that. You know who's going to get that. Like Miami is going to win. Yeah. However, could you make a case? I'm going to get canceled just for saying this.
No, you're not. Let's go.
Can you make a case that Carlos and Garth Lagerwey, whichever one you want to choose, you want a team that you want to put them up as a tag team, that's fine. Could you put them as even a top 3 runner-up?
I say, I was going to say, if you thought behind Henderson and Miami, I was going to say, if you put them behind Henderson, it's probably not the case. I'd probably say Henderson, Albright, and then Boca/Garth at this point.
Ooh.
I think it depends on what happens.
That's just me. That's just me.
I think it depends on what
happens.
In terms of the way that the season ends and the way everything kind of plays out ultimately. I don't think it's. I mean, Miami's always going to get it, right? Like that's just. I think that's what's so frustrating about it. Not because it's like a bad thing. David Beckham did what he was supposed to do, right? He brought in the right guys who brought in the right guys. But I mean, I don't know of another team that is more night and day than Atlanta is right now. And that's
from last season.
The front office. So it's a good shout. Sydney, I mean, yeah, you throw out some good names too, but
yeah, I mean, Miami's going to win it. Chris Henderson's going to win it. But if you look at what Chris Albright has done in Cincinnati, just the way he's built the roster, the players he's brought in, the strings he's pulled behind the scenes, if for some reason Miami doesn't win it, Chris Henderson down Miami doesn't win it, Chris Albright certainly will. But no, I definitely agree. Like if you look at Atlanta before the window and after the window, like you said, Tyler, it's night and day.
See, but I could see like to what you're saying, I could see Pat Noonan winning Coach of the Year for that 100%. Reason.
Either him or Carnell.
Yeah,
St. Louis.
But I think with Cincinnati, yes, the front office 100% they hit the right moves, but like their player turnover has not been that drastic compared to some other teams. You know, like they just started playing the right kind of soccer. They made 1 or 2 changes here and there and got it right. But as far as like a full-on roster overhaul, like I just don't know that since he's up there. I think Pat Noonan deserves a lot of that credit personally, but I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Philly North, right? They took the assistant coach in Philadelphia and the assistant GM in Philadelphia, and they've kind of built like a strong kind of bond. So, so it's Philadelphia North. What do you think, Tommy?
I know what you guys are talking about, and I never expected Garth or Boca or Combo to win it, But to think about where we were, and I mean, I was talking about it on Saturday with some friends. Like, look at the roster of what we had last year. You bring in Giakoumakis, Etienne, obviously a black mark on this whole transfer window, right? Like, that just did not work out. That didn't work out. But then, everybody was like, oh, Ibarra's gone. We freaked out too. We lost Ibarra. Gutman's out. But obviously things were moving. They said things were going to happen. But now look, you've got Saba, Jande, Miamba. I mean, Saba, 3 goals, 3 assists. Jande, 2 goals, 3 assists. Miamba just completely changing how we play. I mean, him himself, just without these two, this team was night and day. And then you add in 2 wingers that are able to score. This team went from being a team that was going to get obviously knocked out in the first round, probably swept, to potentially moving on and going on. So you really can't I understand when we have freaked out, when everyone is freaked out about some of these moves that have happened, and like at the time, because you don't know what else is coming, right? And that's what Boca said. Wait until the end of the transfer window. Now we look at this and we see what the product is. I mean, we're playing the type of soccer that the fans wanted. That makes them an entertaining team, and they're winning. Like, and this is really only step 2. Step 2 of how more transfer windows to come. We're different. We're better. And we're a hell of a lot of fun to watch. So give credit where credit's due.
Dan brings up a good point. Mosquera came back in the summer too, and I kind of put Mosquera down on a list of unsung heroes, along with Hasetu, Wiley, and Wolf. I think Hasetu is the big one, right? Because we talked about Muyimba, how he's just elevated the midfield. Hasetu has been a much better player in that partnership. And anytime your midfield partner can elevate your level of play is massive. Now, does that mean they don't need to replace that position in the off season? Probably not, but I feel like Hasetu now versus Hasetu toward the middle of the season, where he just struggled for form, is a lot better. I mean, is he the total package? No. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. He's making a lot of money too, and he's certainly expendable. Tom, you're shaking your head. Yes, as expected.
How I feel.
Yeah, I know how you feel, but yeah, that's a piece of the puzzle that LA United will look to fill in the off season. Wiley, we've talked about him. Just a terrific season he's had. Wolf, he's popped up when he's been called about. It's been really good. Mosquera scoring on Saturday, well taken goal on Saturday. Just a spark plug of a player that a lot of people were down on. I didn't mention, we haven't mentioned Lennon, who's having a career season, and Doug had an interview with him, where he reaffirmed his desire to play the World Cup. So Lennon is another player. So it's just all coming together.
Yeah, and people complained about the increase of Lennon's contract, right? Like, he got a raise. Like, we found out when they re-upped him, he got a raise. But Lennon knew what they wanted to do. They knew that Lennon would be a big part. He's on the field almost every single game besides that freak injury. Having durable players is just as important. He's very durable, and I still think that he's, one of the options for, a potential captain when Brad leaves.
Yeah. Man, it's so crazy because like we could literally do a full episode about just the way that this team has changed, both the catalysts behind it changing, which has been the newcomers a lot. They've given Almada space. They've given Giakoumakis the ability to do what he wants to do. They're scoring goals, providing assists. You've had 6 goals, 6 assists, I think is the number, from the newcomers just since the summer transfer window. That's crazy. I mean, so they've definitely been the catalyst to help make the guys that have been here, that are playing, the starters, look better. Lennon, has been low key having the best season of his career already. But now that he's been able to work with somebody on that right hand side that gets him, two people really. I mean, he's actually working really well with Mosquera. And then of course, when Saba's over there, like they look like they know what each other wants to do. So I don't want to play like the what if game, but what if you had these players in the beginning of the season? Where would Atlanta be at right now? And I think it's exciting to think about because next year it's going to be crazy. And then, like I saw Zilf bringing up in the chat, can we talk about the Lennon like pseudo midfielder role? I hit on that because that is really, really important to why this team is playing the way that they're playing right now. You have a back four, right? You have a back four. You have two center backs, two wing backs. You have Wiley and Lennon on the opposite sides. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the team now has the chemistry to allow Brooks Lennon to float literally up into the left side top of the box from the right back position and score a goal. Yeah. And you've still got Miles Robinson, Luis Abram, and Caleb Wiley back there as a center back when he does that. It's beautiful to see the way that the boat kind of shifts left and right. And you have to give Pineda credit for that. You know, I know that we've all talked about different things about our feelings on Pineda, whatever, but like that's outstanding use of what you have because Lennon loves to run. He can run forever. So why not take advantage of a guy that can do all of that, get him into positions and just be an extra body in the box that at worst case scenario opens up your real goal scoring threats. So there's just so many little things. You couldn't do that if you didn't have Muyumba on the field. You're just not happening because Muyumba covers so much ground. And yeah, Zilf saying easy. We're competing for the supporter shield if we have these players when we started the season. Absolutely. And I don't think that's a subjective thing. Like that is pretty consistent with everything else that if you look at the numbers, how many points Atlanta would have had they just not given up late leads or draws in the final 10 or 15 minutes. You'd be leaps and bounds above where Cincinnati's at right now. So it's all coming together in a good way, and it's fun to watch, and it's amazing what a handful of players can do to the overall DNA of a team.
So get this. Lennon has played 90 minutes in all 30 matches he has appeared in. The only time he did not was against Chicago. He didn't play against Chicago. But the only time he did not outside of that was in the U.S. Open Cup. He played 58 minutes. Outside of that, he said 30 starts in MLS. He has played every single minute, every single match of those 30 starts. 2,700 minutes played, which is 200 more than Almada for the team lead. I'm trying to see how that ranks in MLS minutes played. Give me 1 second.
That's a lot of running.
Now. No, that is a lot of running. I'd love to see like the number of miles he has run in a given.
Well, he ran over 7 in the last game, and then the game before that, Muyumba was close to 7.5.
Good night.
It's crazy.
So he is 1, 2, 3, 4, tied for 5th in minutes with 2,700. Only Roman Burki, keeper in Seattle, Espinoza, Rodriguez, and San Jose, and Ebobisse have more minutes. But then Celentano, Coronel, who are keepers, Stuver, who are keepers, are all tied with Lennon for most for that 2,700 minutes played. So tied for 5th. So yeah, I mean he is probably again a career season for him, and he's proven just terrific value for Atlanta United. And if I'm Greg Berhalter, give him a shout in October.
Yeah,
these are friendlies. Let him come up, and you don't think so, Tyler?
Don't make him
selfish. I'm selfish. I'm selfish.
Yeah, no, but I mean, at least for a cameo appearance, or just to have him part
for
of
the facilities. For the facilities,
yeah, essentially, tell him just to the facility, just bring him in to train at the very least. I mean, granted, it's Germany. They're playing in East Hartford on the 14th, and Ghana in Nashville October 17th. So there won't be easy matches, but I mean, bring him up, get him some time with the national team. I mean, it won't hurt. I mean, he's not going to start, but maybe give him 5-10 minutes against Ghana. Don't play him against Germany.
No,
Certainly not.
no. So, and I think with Lennon, I think one of the things that really excited me was he had like one of his best games when U.S. Soccer was there touring the bins and doing the whole announcement for the Atlanta U.S. Soccer stuff. Really, really cool. I'm sorry, I'm just slightly distracted because freaking Philly just scored.
Can I?
A little irritated.
Can I throw this out real quick too? And this is going back to front office, and we can visit this in a later show. With U.S. Soccer moving to Atlanta soon, do you feel that they give Bocanegra a call?
Yeah. I mean, I think the option's there. Now, whether or not it happens, I don't know. But I mean, if I were Bocanegra and all of a sudden U.S. Soccer just landed in my backyard, I would definitely be interested. You know,
I mean, I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not saying it will happen either. So
it's a possibility.
I mean, it's I could definitely see it. And this is kind of going off topic, but kind of going back to the previous topic. But yeah, just kind of leaving it out there. I mean, just floating it out there.
Put it in the universe.
not for a nefarious reason.
No. I'm just, but I do think like it's a good shout. And man, Tommy, you said it. You might get canceled. I might get canceled too. But I actually really, really like the way that Boca and Garth have been in tandem. I think
the Boca out crowd has been very. The Boca out crowd has been very quiet over the past few weeks. We'll just say that.
To be fair, it was never that he couldn't find talent. He found plenty of talent and convinced them to come here. But I think in a lot of ways as well, maybe the ship just needed a true captain, right? Like somebody to kind of guide him on like, this is what we have to have. This is what we need. It's cool to go find, that guy who has done everything in South America. But hey, let's go look over here in like, League Two in, Normandy and find and find somebody who really, really can fit the club and the vision that we have for the club. And I think it's a good pairing and I like it. And I don't necessarily want to see him go.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Maybe all he needed was a scouting department. And, maybe he needed analytics. And, it's a combination, right, of who's giving you the money. And, we don't know everything that happened in the background. But, like, why weren't they hiring, a bunch more scouts and analytics and all that? And, maybe his strength is in contracts. Maybe that's not, because look at some of the players that we've got. They've been okay, but their contracts have been long, extremely long, high, and sorry, like maybe Garth could have convinced Jurgen Damm to come here, but he wouldn't have signed him to a 35-year contract with a life room at the training ground.
I saw Jurgen working out in the training center the other day.
How could you? He's so fast. But like those are things. It's like, what? Like some people are good at something at their job, and some things that they're not. And whether Boca had experience with negotiating contracts like that much before, maybe that was just it. And remember, he had help. He had help from I can't think of their names. The guy that got kicked out of MLS there for a while.
Oh, Paul McDonough.
Yeah, Paul McDonough. Yeah. Like this team's contracts started going real bad when Paul left, right? So that's maybe he just wasn't good at that, and that maybe that's what part of what Garth's strengths are.
So I think Parzival summed it up. I just got to throw this out there. This was a great comment. Darren was the fun uncle that brought you M80s and Warheads candy. Garth is making sure you learn how to save your allowance and listen to Beethoven. I say this in the best possible way.
No, I get it.
Spot on.
I get it. No, it's true. I mean, we've heard Atlanta United, the conversation, this was a startup, but now this is not a startup anymore. This is an established business, and they have to start behaving that way. And I feel like the move to bring in Garth was a big step forward, and Garth is kind of the one who, I mean, he's fun. He's a fun guy, but at the same time, he's a no BS kind of guy. Whereas I feel like Darren was, like Parzival said, the fun uncle. I mean, not to say Darren put it with BS, but I feel like he was a lot more lenient. And he was what Atlanta needed for that period of time, but not what Atlanta United needed for the future. And I feel like, he will always have a place at this club, but I feel like it was the best move for the club that he went to Newcastle. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. But yeah, that's an excellent point by Parzival. What else?
You know who we have to thank? We do have something that we didn't talk about.
What?
Part of the reason why Garth Lagerwey is here, the main reason why Atlanta United here is happy 81st birthday to Arthur Blank.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot it was his
True.
birthday today.
Happy birthday, Uncle Arthur.
It was all about.
True.
I mean, he did all this, and my favorite Arthur moment, real quick, is I think it was the quote when they told him to come down when Atlanta was up 3-1 at MLS Cup, and he said, "I'm not going anywhere," because of the Falcons, and he went down on that field very early, and that's when
it was 2-0, and it was
yeah,
yeah,
or 2. Yeah, I'm sorry, 2-0. Yeah, I'm thinking of a different game. Yeah, he didn't want to come down. That's an amazing story, just because he had to watch that. He had to watch that man just stand on that field and just watch his soul slowly slip away in that game. And
we all
so good for him to get that championship, though, right? Like Atlanta did that for him, right? Because I mean that just had to be like one of the worst moments of your life, just sitting there and watching that. So at least he got to see his team, that especially his kids, I think, love a little bit more than even the Falcons. Or that's one of the reasons why I brought him here, was because his kids were huge soccer fans, and he got to celebrate that moment with them. So pretty cool.
Yeah, really, really quick, because Cindy, I know you're trying to hit on something. Just as a quick plug for our website too, so I'll put it in the chat. But if you haven't watched our interview with Felipe from a couple of weeks ago, he talked about Garth, because he's been able to talk to Garth a lot. And one of the stories that he mentioned was when Garth first got here, Garth was kind of going through and doing that initial like couple of weeks of, I'm just going to see what y'all are doing before I come in trying to fix stuff, which I think is what any good leader should do. And by the end of it, he essentially came out and was like, y'all are doing too much. Like, y'all got too much stuff going on. Like, everybody's running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and there's too much happening. If this is your job, go do your job and stop trying to do everything. Because, and I mean, that speaks to maybe the work ethic of a ton of the people at Atlanta United, because there's a bunch of great people there.
Yeah.
But for sure, like, don't get yourself overextended. And I think that's what Garth kind of saw, that they were trying to do it just way too much. And he told them, like, let's take a step back and get everybody where they need to be. And that was step one. That was months ago. And now look where we're at. And I think that's just a small microcosm of what Garth Lagerwey is going to do in his time here.
100%. And I think Atlanta United a year from now is going to look a lot different than Atlanta United today, for the better. So yeah, you can catch that interview on scarsandspikes.com. If you're a patron, you can get access to the full interview. But I think that's it. You guys got anything else before we get out of here?
Let's go. Get ready for a watch along. Chris from Battered Herons messaged me. He's at the game and he might hop on our watch along. He said it is wild to see how many Houston Messi jerseys he has seen. I am so happy that I did not see one Atlanta United Messi jersey. Did you?
Nope.
I did not.
I saw Messi jerseys. I saw
Messi jerseys, of course, but not Atlanta. Good. Nope. Good job, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yes. Got that right.
My final thought is we need to go burn some candles, bust out the sticker, Tommy, the candle. Go buy some stickers, by the way, people, and subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe because we're like 7 away from 600.
We're close.
And look, I said it, and Dallas scored. Oh my goodness. Okay. It worked. It worked. Somebody burned something.
ScarsandSpikes.com. Patreon.com/ Scars and Spikes. Like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. We'll be back, Tuesday?
Yep.
12 minutes, 14 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. We'll be back in like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, we'll be back soon. We'll be back
for the live watch along, but yeah.
We'll be back with Scarves and Spikes on Tuesday. Scarves and Spikes proper on Tuesday.
We got to put our Messi jerseys on right now. We got to run.
Messi not playing. All right, hitting the music. Let's get out of here.
Come get on with us in a minute. Watch this game, guys.
Go Houston.
Thanks for watching, listening, all the fun stuff, and we will see you next time.
And go Dallas. Tonight, I am a Texan.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's only for one night.
Yeehaw.
I didn't say anything about Cowboys.
Bye.
Later.
Peace.